Have you ever had a bad trip to the zoo, or perhaps to an aquarium? Maybe the animals weren't out that day. Maybe the conditions were just so bad it left a bad taste in your mouth. Or maybe the price of admission was so high you felt scammed. Or perhaps you had a good time. Either way, in this video, let me, Jeff, take you all across America and Canada to some different zoos and aquariums, and read you some 1-star reviews. I want to give a quick shout out to Jeff Freak, Silly Internet Slug, for this suggestion. Thank you so much for your support, and if you want one of your suggestions possibly done by me, leave it in the comments down below, and while you're down there, leave a like and make sure you're subscribed. Alright, let's get into those reviews. Our first stop takes us to Debbie Doolittle's Petting Zoo in Tacoma, Washington. This indoor petting zoo has a 4.2 rating on 2,097 reviews. It is located in a small strip mall, and there's no good Google Street View for it, so I included a video of some animals stealing stuff out of some lady's purse. So with all of that behind us, let's go in and read those reviews. Our first indoor petting zoo review comes from Melanie. I strongly recommend avoiding this place. After visiting today, I left feeling awful for having given them my money. We went because it was raining and thought it would be a fun indoor activity, but it ended up being a depressing experience I wish I could forget. The animals looked sad and lethargic, with many just lying down. There was no air circulation, making the whole space feel stuffy and uncomfortable. On top of that, I noticed the knife they used to cut vegetables for the animals just lying out on the front counter, completely unattended, while kids were running around. Extremely unsafe. The arcade was equally disappointing. More than half of the games were broken and the rest barely worked. I honestly don't understand how this place is still in business or where all the glowing reviews are coming from. We already have evidence of the animals grabbing stuff from people, so if a kid or somebody else grabbed that knife and the animal grabbed the knife, the whole food chain's gonna be flipped on its head. I don't know about you guys, but that sounds like a potential spin-off of Planet of the Apes. Well anyways, let's read Katrina's review. 0 stars. Absolutely horrendous conditions. Do not take your families here. Tiny enclosures, kids throwing food at animals, depressing conditions. I honestly don't understand how this place hasn't been shut down. I just have to say, trying to say throwing instead of throwing took way too many tries. Don't throw food at animals, or throw it. Our next 1-star review comes from Natalia. I found this place on TikTok, but I didn't expect it to be so small for so many animals.
I'm really sorry.
I felt really bad about it. Plus, the air circulation isn't good, so the smell of pee and scat is too much. I remember in elementary school, we would make these frequent field trips to this outdoor zone area. We would spend all day outside, and I remember the first time we got there, the instructor really drilled it in our heads that it was called scat and not poop or any other names. I just think they wanted a bunch of kids not to use the word poop all day, or something worse. Heck, I had to say bowel movement around my great-grandma as a kid. Alright, anyways, let's move on and read Andrew's review. Please do not go here. Please take the time to research this place, their owners, and the multiple allegations against them. This place is an absolute abomination to animals. The animals that live here are trapped in small, cold, dark, and fake habitats. Most have no access to outdoors. They pace and look miserable. According to official documents, 17 animals or more have suffered terrible deaths due to neglect. The owners play in the exotic animal trade. To add more, the place is like Five Nights at Freddy's. Old, broken arcade machines that no longer provide prize tickets because they don't have a license. Dirty, abandoned aquariums and equipment scattered around. Nice employees, but this place is sad and a torturous place for the unfortunate animals that are forced to live there. Please avoid this place at all costs. Google it and do your research. If what Andrew is saying is true, I would definitely avoid this place at all costs. 17 animal deaths due to neglect at an indoor petting zoo? No thank you. So what did you guys think of Debbie Doolittle's indoor petting zoo? Let me know, and let's go to the next place. For our next stop, it's actually a place that I've been to multiple times in my life, and that's Sea Life at Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota. This aquarium, which is located inside the Mall of America, has a 4.5 rating on 10,236 reviews. Its most memorable feature, which I remember as a kid loving, was the tunnel, which takes you through Sturgeon Lake, the Wild Amazon, Shark Cove, and Rainbow Reef, where you get to see all sorts of different aquatic animals. Maybe if this video gets enough support, I'll make another trip to this aquarium and put these 1-star reviews to the test. Let me know if you'd like to see that, and let's go read the reviews. Our first 1-star review for this aquarium comes from John. Horrible experience. It's not very big, and they crowd people in regardless of reservations. I know I went on a holiday weekend, and I expected crowded, but not shoulder to shoulder, one step every few minutes crowded. It was so bad. Like being in a line at Disney for only the ride to break down halfway through bad. It actually felt unsafe in most parts because of how crowded it was. There was someone in a wheelchair and they barely had enough space to turn around at one point. How is that okay? I honestly thought about asking for a refund, but I was so drained from the claustrophobic experience, I just wanted out. I'm not trying to diagnose anybody, but I do have to say, even if you have a touch of claustrophobia, you would hate going through that tunnel, especially crowded with people. There's no easy or quick way out, and you're surrounded by all that water. Sounds just terrible, even if you're not claustrophobic. Oh, just Jeff sneaking in here. I want to give a quick shout out to the Super Jeff Freak channel members. Darth Jen, Jawara Hall, Steven, Jake, and Aurora's Aura. Thank you so much for the extra support. Alright, back to the video. Our next 1-star review from Sea Life comes from Oliver. I really wanted to enjoy Sea Life at Mall of America, but unfortunately, it fell short of expectations. The underwater tunnel was definitely the highlight. It's visually impressive and a cool experience. However, beyond that, the rest of the aquarium felt very short and underwhelming. There wasn't much to see or do after the tunnel, and we went through the whole place much quicker than expected. What made the experience worse was the issue with the photo package. We paid for the deluxe option and were told it included free digital copies. But when trying to access them online, we were asked to pay again for the downloads. I've tried reaching out multiple times to Sea Life and to Magic Memories by phone and email, but no one has responded. It's frustrating, and at this point, it honestly feels like we were scammed. For the price of admission, I expected a much better and more engaging experience. I've been to other aquariums and this one was unfortunately the least memorable. I wouldn't recommend it, especially given the cost and lack of customer service follow-up. I do agree with Oliver that the tunnel is the highlight because I never had a photo package or anything like that. I'm not too sure what kind of photos you could get taken that you couldn't just take with a phone here. Maybe I'll have to find out. Our next review comes from Bobby Joe. Super expensive for what you get. The price of general admission for me and my husband was basically around $60 including tax. The walkthrough wasn't worth the price. We also paid for the photo, one pose, and digital photo, one pose. That cost an additional $41. Completely overpriced for the experience. Honestly, it wasn't worth what we paid for at all. I'm not even joking. It felt like a complete ripoff once we completed the walkthrough. Would I recommend this experience? No.
No! God, please, no! No!
Not if you have a family. I think you'd be wasting your money and can find better value for your dollar elsewhere. It's so small and crowded you can't really take your time to observe. We get a little bit of insight of how much it costs to go here, around $60 including tax and $41 for the photos. $41! Now that's a joke. Our next 1-star review comes from Jack. $30 per person for a 15-minute thing. All it is fish and sharks and a couple miscellaneous things. I took more pictures of the birds in the parking ramp than I did inside. $60 wasted for my girlfriend and I to listen to kids screaming at the top of their lungs for 15 minutes. Well, there shouldn't be any birds in the aquarium. That'd be kind of strange. Maybe in the rainforest part. But anyways, let me know if you guys would like to see me take a trip out to this aquarium and what you guys think of it. And let's move on, go to the next place. Our next stop takes us to Texas, to Amarillo, Texas, to the Amarillo Zoo. What a name. This zoo has a 3.9 rating on 1,545 reviews. This zoo doesn't really look like a zoo from the outside, but it has over 120 animals representing over 70 different species from around the world. So with that in mind, let's go read some 1-star reviews. Our first review for the Amarillo Zoo comes from Colorful. If I could give negative reviews, I would. It was a very sad day to visit. The fact alone that I have more grass in my front yard than the zoo as a whole upset me. The enclosure seemed way too small for the animals inside of it. No room for most to roam or run around. The reptile room reminded me of a science classroom and small fish tanks. All that was missing were the desks and chairs. All the animals looked depressed, and some barely had food available to them. Do not recommend wasting the money to go here. Well, that sounded like a pretty negative review to me. How about you guys? Not off to a great start for this zoo. Sounds like it's pretty small and pretty depressing. Perfect, let's read the next review. And that next review comes from Susan. I understand that my expectations of what a zoo should be are probably a little higher than most, seeing as how I have grown up with the Denver, Houston, Asheville, and San Francisco zoos. However, this place needs cleaned up something fierce. Safety for visitors, children, and animals. Most animals didn't have water on 04/16 around noon. I passed one employee on my visit, and that was the extremely depressed man sitting up front at the entrance playing on his phone that refused to speak. I asked one employee on my visit, and that was the extremely depressed man sitting up front at the entrance playing on his phone that refused to speak. I'm so saddened for these animals. I could do a better job for quality of life in my backyard. Whoever owns this place needs a redo. Heartbreaking. I would pay some pretty big money to get the surveillance tape of Susan and the one employee who didn't speak. I would pay like at least $15 for that. I want to see it so bad.
I am declining to speak.
Like, I'm just imagining Susan being like, hello, hello, hello. And the guy is playing like Temple Run or something on his phone. I don't know. Something like that. Anyways, let's read Cynthia's review. Sad to say, this zoo is a disgrace. The animals, the location, and everything else is neglected. Trees are dying. The green areas are not well kept. The guy at the entrance is rude. Those animals need to be sent somewhere else. They are the ones paying the price for somebody else's laziness. Sounds like we got some more lore on the guy at the entrance who doesn't speak. If he does speak, he's rude. But I do feel really bad for these animals. If they're being treated this poorly, they should be sent somewhere else where the people aren't lazy. Let's go to the next review. Our next review for the Amarillo Zoo comes from Lillian. Very sad place for the animals. Lions are very small. All the animals look depressed and tired. They have more farm animal things you could see driving down a dirt road. They should give these animals away to a bigger city with a better zoo, or they could have a better life. Somebody should really go and look at this place and close it down because it would really be the best option. Especially for the taxpayers of Amarillo, it's just not worth it. I live somewhere where you can go and check out farm animals from the side of the road and it's free. Well, it costs whatever gas costs. But I would not compare that to going to a zoo because that's a little bit more humane than a zoo, I feel like. Even though those animals might become food someday. Let's not think about it too much. Let's go to the next place. For our next stop, we're going to head north of the US border to Canada, to Park Safari in Hemingford, Quebec, Canada. This place has a 3.9 rating on 7,611 reviews. The main attraction at this park is the Safari Adventure, which is divided into 3 different areas: Africa, Eurasia, and the Americas. It's a 4-kilometer journey where you drive in your own car and you get to photograph, touch, and even feed some of the animals. I wouldn't want them around my car like that, would you? So let's go read some of the 1-star reviews from here. Our first review for this Canadian zoo comes from Eugene. What a disappointing day with my grandkids. I'm in shock. Barely any animals. It's nothing like advertised. They charge you an arm and a leg. Beware. I totally advise you not to go. Of all the places I have visited, This is the worst of the worst. Eugene is really setting the tone with his review here. The worst of all places. And I don't think there's anybody under the age of 50 named Eugene, so he's been to a lot of places. Our next 1-star review comes from Emily. This zoo has become depressing. Compared to a decade ago, I would think 70% of the animals have disappeared. The ones that are still here look depressed and antisocial. I remember coming here as a kid, walking through the lion tunnels and being face to face through the glass with lions, watching them play and jump all around. Today I went and saw 2 old mopey lions laying in the shade. It wasn't even hot today. Maybe throw some lady lions in there to keep them entertained. Didn't see a single monkey, bear, cheetah, and so much more. The most animals you'll actually see here is in the taxidermy museum. Maybe that's where they all went. Anyways, the water park is fun, but if you're going to spend $60 on a ticket, you might as well just go to an actual water park. They really need to wrap up these renovations because it's been the last couple of years this park is half closed and just overall crap. And $25 to walk with an alpaca is diabolical. At least let me ride it for that price. I really hope all the animals don't end up in the taxidermy museum. That'd be kind of a tragic end to their life. Do you agree with Emily? Should you be able to ride the alpaca for $25? Or is that a fair amount just to go on a stroll with it? While you guys do those calculations, I'll read Alex's review. We went there to spend a nice day, but in the end, it was a total disappointment. First was a $225 for 3 adults and 1 child. There was no special offer, not even because we were coming from Ontario, Toronto. The drive-through safari had almost no animals, just a couple of cows, and that was it. To see the lions, we had to wait until almost 1 p.m. There were no monkeys, wolves, or deer, and they wanted an extra $25 for a short ride with the alpaca. Total disappointment. Don't go. Save your money. And I suggest the Granby Zoo. It's 1000% better. Also, my whole experience took a couple of hours, and the rest we wait for the Lions Tunnel to open. Waste of time and money. $225 for 3 adults and 1 child for a 2-hour experience, and there were no wolves or deer or monkeys, just a couple of cows. Like moo cows? That would be a waste of money. I could drive 15 minutes from my house right now and see a handful of moo cows. I also could drive 2 minutes to this park and probably see some deer, but no monkey or wolves. But I can read Dano's review. As a kid, this place was an amazing experience. Just brought my 11-year-old son here and we were sadly disappointed. For starters, I realized this is in Canada, but everything is in French. The person working the ticket booth spoke no English, so we couldn't figure out any information about the place other than the little map they gave us, which is 90% French. Once through the gate, the overwhelming stench of feces is present and came in waves frequently during our time there. Parking spaces are large enough to park a Prius in. The place was unclean, animals looked miserable, and their enclosures were not well kept. We only saw 2 employees throughout the entire walk, and they looked underage, and were ignoring people who were asking questions about the animals. My son wanted to get something to eat, but quickly lost his appetite while we stood in line, smelling the disgusting stench of feces in the air. The water park looked like it could be fun for kids. We didn't go on the safari, but I imagine that could be fun as well. Some of this review I can understand. Like, everything being in French might be frustrating, especially if you don't know French. And if the employees are underage, that would be a concern. But the smell of scat in the air? What did Dano expect? It to smell like Febreze or something? Like what? It's a zoo, it's going to smell terrible. Anyways, let's move on and go to the next one. Our next stop is another aquarium, the Mississippi Aquarium in Gulfport, Mississippi. This aquarium has a 4.2 rating on 4,635 reviews. From the bit of B-roll I'm showing in the background, this place looks pretty nice. I'm a big fan of that big cylinder tank. I could look at that for minutes. So let's go read some 1-star reviews. Our first 1-star review comes from Jamie. Please don't waste your money here. Way overpriced. Even a bottle of water is $4.50. It's small, dirty. Try to take my daughter to see Bluey. They had this weekend. Advertisement said Bluey would be there in the aquarium all day for the kids to interact with, and in reality, he was outside the aquarium, and you could only pay to take a photo with him in a line that took hours, so your child never even got to see Bluey. The worst aquarium we've ever been to. The worst aquarium ever, just because Bluey was actually outside the aquarium, not inside, and the line to see Bluey was long. Therefore, the aquarium is the worst aquarium ever. Come on, Bluey, you're causing chaos everywhere. Let's read what happened to Wanda. I am so disappointed. I went here with my granddaughter and my sister, and it was a nightmare. We came when it opened at around 10, and we looked around until we went to the dolphin show. There was barely any room to see what was going on, and all it was an employee talking about dolphins and a few flips that you could barely see. The aviary was just a few birds sitting around, and a lady rushing my granddaughter in and out the door. The Aquatic Wonders was the only enjoyable part of the experience. Then the cafe was so expensive you could go to Red Lobster and get better quality. My granddaughter ordered the chicken finger platter, and it had spicy sauces all over it, which was not mentioned in the menu. It was an overall horrible experience for all three of us. Would not recommend. Sounds like this place also has a dolphin show. That's interesting. I also like the part where Wanda said a lady was rushing her granddaughter in and out the door somewhere. I like to imagine the person was like, alright, let's go in here, let's go out, let's go in here, let's go out. Like there's some NPC in a video game stuck in a broken loop. Moving on from Wanda, let's see what happened to Anne Marie. I'm sorry to say Mississippi failed. When it comes to the aquarium, it was very small. Hardly anything of interest to see, and the landscaping looked very unkempt. Very overpriced for what you get. Do better, Mississippi. I love to imagine the governor of Mississippi going on Google reviews for this aquarium and seeing Anne Marie's review and being like, we gotta fix the aquarium. Anne Marie left a 1-star review and told us we need to do better, so let's do better. Our next review for this aquarium comes from Jenny. Today, my mother and I had an extremely negative experience here involving the customer service here. We were in town for a few days staying at the Island View, and they offer guests a deal that if you buy one ticket at the aquarium, you get a second free. Once we got to the ticket booth, we let the employee know we had this coupon. She then replied to us in an extremely rude tone that if we would have read the bottom of the coupon, we would have realized that it said we had to have the coupon printed out on a physical piece of paper. We then asked her if there was a possibility they had the ability to print them for us, as common sense would tell you people who are from out of town staying at a hotel don't usually have access to a printer. She then curtly responded with a no. And before we could get another word out, she quickly got up and walked off. At this point, we knew we had not read this portion of the coupon, and we were ready to just go ahead and pay the full price for both of us for admission. The employee then returned with the campus revenue manager, Carrie, redacted, who we explained the situation to. She then got us her business card and told that we could email the coupon to her and she could print them, but that printing this coupon was not their responsibility nor problem. We had thanked her for offering to print them out for us, but decided that we had enough of being disrespected and decided to just leave. Mississippi Aquarium, if you're reading this, please think about making this coupon more accessible for people who are traveling, to where more negative interactions like this are avoided in the future. Also, please teach your staff to not be disrespectful and rude to patrons. I have seen multiple complaints and other reviews about this employee, so I know we aren't the only ones this happened to. Referring to having a negative experience with her. It's really sad because we always have wanted to visit the aquarium, and the one time we're able to, we're met with such disappointing customer service. Luckily for Jenny, if Mississippi Aquarium didn't read it, at least Jeff did. It definitely sounds like this coupon issue has happened more than once, so you would think they would have a solution in mind besides being confrontational about it, but hey, I don't make up the rules. So what'd you guys think about this aquarium? Let me know in the comments down below. And with that, you made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Make sure you leave a like, watch this video on screen if you haven't seen it, and I've been Jeff, and I can't wait to see you next time. Goodbye.